I'm Sammy Davis. This is Some Dumb News, and it's Friday, which means I'm going to try something new. Let's have a discussion. Perhaps you've heard about the feud between Steven Crowder, who I had to look up, and the Daily Wire, owned, of course, by Ben Shapiro, someone who I had heard of, but also am not totally familiar with. Last month, Steven Crowder became a free agent when his show, Louder with Crowder, again, a show that I had never heard of until recently, left Glenn Beck's The Blaze and is now going on its own journey. However, this week it came out that Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire has offered Crowder a $50 million contract over a 4-year period, meaning about $12 million per year over 4 years, for him to do his daily show, Louder with Crowder, but for the Daily Wire. Now, I don't want to get into all of the details with this story, so down below there is a link to the Rational National, who is doing ongoing coverage of this story as things change, but there was one element of it that really kind of boggled my mind. In the contract, which again was a first-round contract open to negotiations, Crowder seemed upset by the amount of work that was expected if he were to sign this contract. Specifically, the contract was calling for 4 episodes per week. So here's his daily show, and they're asking him to do one less day during the week. But again, I don't watch Louder with Crowder. I don't know how often he uploads. Maybe he uploads once a month. I don't know. I don't care. He's not my cup of tea. But what I do care about is the notion of a 4-day work week. Science has shown that humans are not usually capable of working more than 3 to 4 hours per day. Everything else that we do in an 8-hour workday is usually either poor productivity or we're just slacking off and goofing off. I mean, think about any of those small companies. If you have worked for a small company, perhaps you have had a boss like this. They show up around noon and they hang out with management until about 5 o'clock, and then from 5 to 8, they do a lot of work, and they get really upset if people start going home between 5 and 6 o'clock. After all, they are just starting their workday. Where is everyone going? So clearly a 3-hour workday is more advantageous for those on top, but for the rest of us, we are expected to work hard for 8 hours per day, 5 days a week. A relatively small amount of companies have adopted a 4-day work week, but they still expect 10 hours per day so that you can hit the 40-hour work week. Now, legally, a full-time work week is 30 to 32 hours depending on where you live. So if we did a 4-day work week and we still had 8 hours per day, we would be hitting 32 hours per week. So we would be within the full-time work range, legally speaking. But for those of you who work full-time, what would happen if you started working 32 hours a week? As a best case scenario, you might get talked to, you might get in trouble with your employer, you might get written up for not working enough. But in a worst case scenario, you will either lose some of your benefits or have your pay deducted, or you will just get fired with cause, meaning that you cannot apply for unemployment. So for all of us, 40 hours per week is not only what we have to work, but it's kind of unnecessary. The law says we could work less than 40 hours per week and still be considered a full-time employee, but I can pretty much guarantee that your employer will not accept a 32-hour work week. So for most people doing a 4-day work week, they are working 10 hours per day so that they can continue to hit the 40-hour work week. They don't need to, they could do 8 hours a day, but their employer really wants 40 hours. Science tells us we are productive between 12 and 16 hours per week, but your employer really wants you in that desk for the rest of the time. So that got me thinking what it takes to make a show like this. Now, mine is an exceptionally cheap show to make. It costs me $0 because I make this myself. I do the research, the editing, the uploading, all of the stuff that you have to do, but I also only have 100 subscribers. So it's not like I am reaching out to millions of people whenever I upload my videos. That said, it is work, and it usually takes between 3 to 5 hours to create one of these episodes, depending on the format that I am using. And yeah, I also learned that you guys don't like certain formats. I'm not gonna do any more of the skits. I enjoy making sketch comedy, but nobody likes it when I put on different outfits and pretend to be different characters and blah, blah, blah. But that's okay, because those episodes took a lot longer to make. Between writing a script, shooting everything, and then editing it all together, it was a pain in the butt. I liked doing it, but nobody watched it. It's just not worth the time investment. So instead, we've got this show where it's just you and me talking. I got the camera here, you got your screen in front of you, and we're just jiving here. We're having a good time. We're just chatting. We're enjoying ourselves, right? Right? Are you enjoying yourself? Please tell me you're enjoying yourself. This camera that I use, it's a free camera that I got from my older brother. The computer that I use to edit everything and obviously do all of the work was a gift from my mother. The green screen that I occasionally use was a gift from one of my other brothers. The only things that I paid for were this microphone and the ring light that I use. Otherwise, this is a pretty cheap show to make. So let's imagine someone came at me with a $50 million contract to continue doing this show for 4 years, but doing it 4 days a week instead of 3 days a week. I don't think that would be too much work. That wouldn't be a very big ask because it takes about, 2 to 3 hours to make this show that we are watching right now. Yes, I'm watching it with you. So I would be looking at a 12-hour work week and a whole lot more money than I have ever seen in my entire life. But what really drives me kind of crazy about this whole story is how upset Steven Crowder has gotten over the whole situation. Because again, he's being offered millions of dollars per year to make the same show that he is making right now, but 4 days a week? So here's the discussion. This is what I want to know from you. What would it take for you to work 4 days a week? Would that be more days than you are currently working? And if so, would you expect a pay raise? Or would that be less time than you are working? Would you take a pay cut to work fewer hours? Or because you are now working fewer hours and those hours are going to be more productive, do you think you should get a pay raise for the reduced hours? There are no right answers on this. This is not an issue of objective truth. This is an issue of subjective truth. This is an issue of your opinion, what you think would work for you and what you think would work for the rest of humanity. That said, just because there are no wrong answers doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everything that people have to say. See, I'm one of those crazy people who thinks that when the Constitution says you have a right to life, that should include food, shelter, water, all of the things that you are currently paying for, but are necessary for the bare minimum of survival. So to me, I would say let's work 0 hours per week and whatever we produce is bonus, baby. But I'm also a practical person and I realize that just because I want to live in a Star Trek universe doesn't mean that we are magically going to have the utopia that we all deserve. So instead, I leave it up to you. What would be the optimum time for you in terms of working? If you had to work, and we all have to work, how many hours per week do you want to work? I've changed my mind. We're going to leave pay out of the discussion. If you have already typed up your comment about whether you should get paid more or less, you can leave it. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to I'm not going to yell at you for it. But what I do want to know is how many hours per week would you be willing to work? Once again, everybody has to work. It is compulsory. Unless you were born wealthy, we all have to work. That's just the reality that we live in. So how many hours per week are you willing to do that? Leave it in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, do all of the things that help this channel grow. If you liked this video, hit that like button, and maybe next Friday I will do another discussion video based on some story in the news. If you hated the video, send it to your enemies. I don't know, maybe they'll hate it so much that they stop being your enemy? The current goal is 1,000 subscribers, so if you can help me get there, that would be golden. Also, as a bit of housekeeping for this channel in particular, I am starting a new job on Monday, so it might be a little bit harder to hit the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule next week. We'll see if that eases up as I become more comfortable with my new job. So forgive me if I am not available next week, but I will be back with more dumb news. My name is still B. Sammy Davis. Thanks for watching.